Thanks, everybody. I'm going to be your Leadership and International Relations teacher, so I'm going to give you the introduction to the center this year. And so, in teacher-like fashion, I'm going to start with a question. Who's your deity? I want you to think about that. Is there anybody out there that knows what this word means? I can't see anybody. Now I can see you. Is there anybody out there who knows what this means? Yes? Okay. What is it? Godlike. Okay, so it's to deify is to make a god out of somebody. And so now that you've learned this word, I want everybody to say it for me. But I want you to say it with a southern accent. Ready? Say the whole sentence. Who's your deity? Go ahead. Do it again? All right, that doesn't have anything to do with my talk. I just wanted to make everybody go, who's your deity? So, getting into that, actually it does have something to do with my talk. The first thing I wanted to share with you is a story about one of mine. My first leadership experience, and this of course before we get into the notion of being green, and I want you to think about what the heck does this guy mean about green? What does that have to do with leadership? My first leadership experience was in retail, and I was very young, and so the deal with this is I'm a salesman, I'm working under this very imposing, huge man named Wayne, and that'll come into play here in a minute. And I didn't know anything about leadership, so the only thing I could do was emulate him. When time came for me to be brought up into management, all I did was just emulated him. I did everything, his little snort that he did, his speech patterns, the words that he used, the whole thing. And it worked for me as a leader because as we moved through, nobody noticed that there was anybody different there. The only thing is that he was a real jerk. And so I guess you probably figured out, so was I. So this kind of gets us then to the model of leadership that I was trying to follow. And despite the hair, I'm not still trying to follow that. He talked down to people. He was very aggressive, he was very powerful, but he was also intimidating in what he did. And so in following in that, I realized that everybody thought the same thing of me that I thought of him, that he was a jerk. And I think the biggest evidence I got was when people started coming in and calling me Little Wayne. For a middle-aged white man, that's pretty embarrassing. And that was supposed to be funny. Anyway, so moving on to my second leadership experience, I realized I needed to move on to a different style. And so when I got into the music business, and there were several bands, this is just one, and the only reason I'm using that picture is that there's somebody here whose dad is in it as well. Somebody's deity. Anyhow, in this example, I initially started out trying to use that method of leadership of being intimidating, and it's what I say or you get fired. And it didn't work, strange as that may seem. So I decided to move on and figure out other ways to do it. I started to back off a little bit. In the course of backing off, I realized, well, somebody's got to do these jobs. So I figured out, as I got to know these people, that, for example, the guy in the middle, women think he's dashing, he's a salesman, he's the perfect guy to front the band to interface with the public. The guy over here kind of cut off in the corner, CEO of a corporation, he's my answer man, he's the guy that can help me know what to do when I want to lead. Somebody else over on your left-hand side, penny pincher, he's really concerned about money, he became our bookkeeper, and so on. And my job in all of this was I was very interested in the background and the technical stuff, and so I was able to do those jobs. So moving forward, I started to realize, wow, this is really working. I'm using people's strengths. I'm not the guy that has to be in charge of everything, that has to make every decision. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I did have to make some decisions, and occasionally I did have to be Donald. But for the most part, the thing ran itself, and it worked for 14 years, and if you know anybody that's played music, 14 years for a band is really, really good. So, that continues. So now we get to the notion of green. What is it about leadership that's green? Leadership being green, do you have any ideas? Does anybody have any thoughts on the subject? What might I mean when I say green? Come on. Yes, sir?
It's organic.
It's organic. Nice. Anything else? What do you think of as green that has anything to do with leadership?
Kermit.
Kermit. Good. What else? Yes, ma'am?
Well, green comes from right from the earth, so it's kind of original, I guess.
Okay, good. So you guys have zeroed right in on what I wanted you to see. It's not easy to be being green, as my line was stolen earlier. But the point here is that it's about nature, and I was going to use Kermit to describe this because Kermit, to me, he's natural, he's himself. He leads well by just letting everybody else sort of find their way, and he directs them and all that. I mean, they've got movie careers and TV careers and all of that. However, that was going to be the center part of my speech until I realized that there are books and endless speeches about this, and so why bother? Moving on. Nevertheless, his words are very telling. What's he trying to say? Be yourself. So, when you go out into the world, know your nature. Be green. Know who you are. And do that. It worked a lot better for me when I wasn't trying to be somebody else and instead could just be myself and figure out who everybody else was. So, know your people and your leading. And ultimately, be one of them. Be part of a team. Be humble. Be a servant, to quote everybody else. That's what I got for you. Thanks.